So that was a lot of information, guys. And again, a lot of this is, 22 years worth of experience that I'm trying to cram into a little bit for you guys. Hopefully some of the stuff that I talked about makes sense, but I do want to open it up to some conversation and questions that you might have. So Mark has been monitoring the chat. So Mark, did we have any questions pop up?
Yep, our first question is from Levi. So Levi, you can go ahead and ask that to David directly.
Levi, you still on?
Yeah, sorry, I was just struggling to unmute myself. So right now I am working with a home builder, and I'm shooting these walkthrough videos, trying to show the layout of the home to help their potential clients see the layout and understand it. And, right now I'm charging just my normal real estate video pricing. So anywhere from $200 to $400 for these walkthrough videos. And obviously these have a lot of value to the home builder, but I wanted to see, how do I start increasing that price? How do I communicate that value? And how do I also increase the value that I'm providing to them?
Sure. Okay. So first question I have is, that company, do they have a marketing team? Is there somebody that understands how to distribute those videos properly to maximize the value? Or are they taking your videos and trying to do what they can with them without a whole lot of knowledge?
That's something that I don't know. I've actually been working through the owner of the company's brother, who's a real estate agent. So I'm just doing everything through him, which is something that I'm hoping to switch here soon.
Okay. And what is the plan? Like, have you provided them with the plan, or are you just basically providing them with the videos?
I'm solely providing them with the video. I show up, I shoot the video, I edit it, and I send it to them.
Okay. So that again is really where the plan is going to increase your value exponentially, right?
Yeah.
If all you're doing is handing them that video, you have no idea whether they're implementing it properly and actually getting the results out of it. Okay. So there has to be a plan behind that, because once you create one video with the plan behind it and it gets them the results, right? So like, think about it. You charge them $200, $300, $400 for the video, right? I don't know how much they're selling their homes for, but if that one video within a strategy helps them sell one home, even if it's $250,000, well, they got $250,000 in revenue, but you got $500. So that doesn't seem very equal in value, right? That doesn't seem very logical, right? So if you put a strategy in place for them and say, hey, listen, I don't want you to sell one additional home. I want you to be able to sell 20 additional of these floor plans. And here's how to do it, right? And I want you to be able to do that year over year over year, which turns into millions or tens of $1,000,000 in revenue for that business. But if all you're doing, again, is saying, I'm a videographer, I can show up, then guess what? That's all you are. You're a camera operator. You don't have much value on top of that. So you really need to kind of study the distribution, putting videos within a complex system. How do I target? How do I retarget? How do I get follow-on business? How do I get repeat and referral business? All of that stuff is going to increase your value when you're sitting at the table with a high-level business person.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Okay, awesome. Good question.
Awesome. We got a lot of good questions coming in. The next one is from Terry. Go ahead and ask that, Terry.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you go.
Okay, you caught me. I was actually in the process of typing out my second question. So I'm like, wait, what was the first one?
Let's get them both.
Okay, so the first question is, going back to, let's see, you were talking about, when you're talking to the potential client, and essentially you're learning and asking questions about what their goals are and their needs are. How much research do you do on that business before you go to the table with those questions?
A ton. I
bet.
I do a ton. Okay. So, regardless if somebody reaches out to me or I approach them, and start those conversations, I have to learn a lot. And I let them know that straight up front. I'm like, even if I approach them, I tell them, hey, I'm interested in helping your business being more successful. And I'd like to have an in-depth conversation about that. But one of the things that I do is a lot of research. So everybody fills out an application to work with me. So, and that application includes quite a few questions that tell me about who they are, what they do, what separates them, why people should buy from them, what they're struggling with, what they're currently succeeding with. I do a lot of investigation into their competition. So I ask them who their competition is. Mark will help me do like audits on their website, audits on their social media presence. We do a lot of research and also into the industry, right? Before we sit at the table and actually start conversations. So yes, I ask a ton of questions and I let them know that up front. I'm a little bit different. If you're willing to go through this, if you're willing to allow me to get a deep understanding of your business so that I can create a strategy that's actually going to get you big results, then we can create something for you. If that's not the time and effort that you want to put into it, then maybe I'm not the right person. And what I find is the serious business owners who want to get serious results will take the time to dig into that with me. And that's where I get a ton of the information. So yes, I do a lot of investigation and homework before we start discussing much.
And that's before you've even been paid, right? So this is all like when you're approaching the potential client of, I really want to dig into this with you, but before I give you an estimate, is that how you approach it?
Right.
And
so right now it is where, ooh, look, people are still trying to jump in. Or maybe Reggie just got kicked out. So yes, right now that is. As the evolution of my company is kind of getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and my time is becoming more and more valuable, I'm not approaching people as much as I used to. People are starting to approach me. In fact, all my business at this point within the last few months is people that have come to me. Being that my time is getting to be a little bit stacked and more valuable, if they want to work with me, I'm starting to kind of work out a process where if they want to strategize and they want me to take my time to really dig in, then they can pay like an upfront deposit. And if we move forward with actually signing a contract, they can put that deposit towards the total price of it. And if they don't move forward, well, then that's going to pay me for my time. So as a natural evolution of my company, that's something that we are moving towards very, very fast. Because again, I can't spend 5-6 hours doing the research and have people bail out. If they want to actually do it, then cool, we'll apply that deposit to the total price. And if not, then that pays me for my 5 or 6 hours of research. So very good question though.
That's smart. That's smart. The last question I was typing was just, I'd love to hear what books or reading you recommend covering these topics, or about looking for the focus and trying to help generate ideas and plans for focus.
Sure. So how many of you guys would want some recommendations on that kind of stuff? Would that be helpful? Okay. So I'm going to pull up my screen and show you guys something. Okay. So are you guys able to see my screen? Okay. So a lot of people have kind of already figured out that Mark and I have developed a course to go over a lot of this stuff. Our intention of this call is not necessarily to pitch our course, but to give you guys a lot of value. We just launched this course very recently, and we're taking very limited amount of people. In fact, we're almost full with our pilot phase. But this is a resource that we're going to be rolling out quite a bit. We still have spots in our pilot phase, but it does discuss a lot of the things that we talked about today, primarily understanding the business part of video in the commercial space. We do not teach how to use your camera. So that's, obviously you got a course already that works very well with that. In fact, I'm going to be sending out this link anyways, because I promised that you guys would be able to watch the video, the interview with that home builder director of marketing. So on this link, you guys will be able to watch this interview. But our course is called the Real Deal Video Strategist Club. And our mission and our goal is to take people from being just your average camera operator to somebody who understands how to put an actual strategy together and a plan that is going to get their clients results. So we've built out an entire course that shows us or shows our students, what videos are appropriate in different situations and which industries will pay a lot of money to have these different videos. That way our students don't get in the rut of creating the same promo type videos over and over and over and over, and that's all they create. Because in reality, there's dozens of different types of videos that big business will pay for. So we want our students targeting big companies, home builders, architectural firms, primary care physicians, tech companies, schools that teach people how to fly, airplanes and helicopters. We're going to be helping our students, target and get results for bigger businesses. And a lot of that is understanding which industries will need which videos. So we cover that. Mark actually teaches in-depth step-by-step tutorials on all the different platforms. So Facebook, Google, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, LinkedIn, Kickstarter, WeFunder, Pinterest, all kinds of different platforms. He gives step-by-step instructions on how to use those. And there is a free preview. So if you guys want to check out one of the step-by-step instructions on Facebook, you can do that. Again, I don't like doing any of this stuff. So I hand off a lot of this stuff to Mark. For the students in our course that want to learn this so they can speak about it and bring value to the table, but don't necessarily want to implement that, we're going to have a community kind of base where our students can reach out to Mark's agencies and collaborate with Mark's agencies to handle the distribution part. So they'll have access the same way I have access to Mark and his team, but he gives step-by-step instructions on how doing all of this, including email marketing and all that stuff. We also teach in a few modules how to actually get in front of these bigger businesses. A lot of people just straight up ask, I don't even know how to get in front of those people. How do I do that? Where do I even begin? So I teach really going over building an effective network of business people and building relationships in a network that will send you business and send you referrals, and how to do that. For the people who are not as outgoing as I am and don't necessarily like talking or feel comfortable speaking with people that they don't know, Mark teaches how to build an effective strategy to get people coming in through your own online platforms. So how do you generate leads for your own production company online? And then the final module that we have built out right now is an interview series with high-level professionals from different industries. So tech companies, medical, real estate, like blue collar stuff, like roofers, solar companies, stuff like that. So we talk to them to answer your question, Terry, about all the questions that I ask. What I'm doing in this interview series is I'm actually asking these people a lot of questions that I would typically ask in my onboarding process, but I'm just doing it in an interview setting. So they think that I'm just interviewing them. But in all reality, I'm taking them through an onboarding process that I would normally take them through to begin with if they were to be one of my clients. Once we've interviewed them, Mark and I break down the interview and discuss all the things that that person said that would allow us to create a strategy for them and to pitch a retainer-based project to them. We talk about those things, and then we actually build out a strategy and show our students if we were to be doing business with this company or this business person, this is the strategy that we would bring to the table. So we actually lay that out so that our students understand what they should be going to the table with. So I will send this link out again, guys. Again, the purpose of this call is not intended really to, try to sell you on this. We don't have very many spots left. If you guys are interested in it, hop on it quick or send me a message if you have individual conversations. But that is a resource that we've put together to help you guys out in understanding a lot more in depth of what we've talked about today. What we talked about today, just kind of condensed it as much as possible. But if you have individual questions about it, give me a shout real quick. For right now, I'm willing to stay on the Zoom and answer as many questions as you guys want to ask. So as long as you want to stay on the line, you can. If you need to drop off, you can. For the folks that hopped on late, I will send out the replay and the link to this course. So Mark, what other questions do we have? I'm willing to stay on for a while and answer questions.
Sure. The next question was from Jordan. So you can go ahead and ask that, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Um, what I was kind of wondering, I guess, and my questions evolved a little bit as you've continued to explain and you've spoken to some of it. But so you talked about this specific client where you have a contract for 150,000, right? Of that 150,000, I'm wondering kind of a couple things. First off, like how many people how much of the work in this six-step plan are you outsourcing to people like Mark or other contractors that you might know? You know, do you have any people that works with your company as employees? And then at the end of the day, like how much of that pie are you actually taking home yourself to your company, and how much do you have to spend on outsourcing to people to manage other pieces of that?
Good question. Really good question. Okay. So for the $150,000 deal, I am taking the majority of that as profit. Okay. Um, the funny thing is that before I started working with this home builder, they actually had a video agency that they were working with, a much, much bigger video agency. And that video agency was charging them a lot more than what I'm charging them. So if we renew the contract, my price is actually going to go up a little bit with them. But I've positioned myself to be fast, efficient, and be able to provide high quality. And I've been able to do that without a lot of overhead expenses. So a lot of it is coming into profit for the pocket of my company. Mark does not help out on this, mainly because this company already has a marketing team. So I collaborate with them on all the ideas, and I'm constantly putting in my 2 cents. Sometimes they take it and say, hey, we didn't think about that. We're going to go ahead and implement that. Sometimes they tell me, hey, we've already on that. Thanks for letting us know. We kind of already thought about that. Sometimes they tell me it's not a direction that they want to go. But as far as the outsourcing for the marketing and distribution part, they are handling that. As far as the actual production piece, I film a good portion of it right now. I am starting to bring on 1 or 2 shooters that I will send out to go film these things, depending on which video project we're doing. And for the most part, I outsource almost all the editing. So to answer your question, from the production standpoint, I've been doing about 75% of it, and I'm probably going to scale that back and outsource a little bit. And the majority of that goes to editing. But from a profit standpoint, you know, I'm basically paying the folks that I work with a day rate, which they're comfortable working with. So so if you break it down, if we were to say it's 4 videos per month, that's $2,500 per video. My expenses for that are probably about $500. And after that, the rest goes into the profit for my company, minus, taxes. But expense wise, only about $500 per video, if that. So does that answer your question? Awesome. Okay.
Cool. The next question was from Nacho. Go ahead, man.
I forgot to unmute. My bad. How do you end up finding these big fish companies, and then how do you actually get talking in front of them?
Sure. So this is something that we cover pretty extensively in the Real Deal Video Strategist Club. So I'll try to sum it up for you a little bit on how I go about it and how Mark approaches it. I am huge into networking. I am huge into meeting people in my business community and fostering like productive relationships with them. Okay. So I meet people that work in all the industries I can think of. And I do that through going to meetups in networking groups. I do that through trying to connect with people in different groups online, but I am constantly looking to meet those people. Now, I don't do that with the intention of trying to sell them directly, right? But say, for instance, if I wanted to go target another home builder and I've generated a really solid relationship with 3 or 4 or 10 real estate agents, right? Those real estate agents are likely to know the people in those home builder communities. And if I can get a relationship going with that real estate agent, I can ask for them, hey, can you guys introduce me to somebody that's high up at this particular company? And within that networking kind of philosophy, anybody who does it a lot is always open to meeting. So, you know, that real estate agent will reach out to the director of marketing at a home builder and say, hey, I'd like to go get lunch with all three of you. I want to introduce you to David, and I want to introduce David to you because, you know, he does this and blah, blah, blah. So starting the conversation is obviously half the battle. But for me, networking and knowing so many people in the business community helps out. But as I mentioned, at this point, I don't really ask for business. More times now, people are kind of getting the fact and the knowledge that I'm the person in the area that's going to be able to put the strategy together, and they're referring their friends over because we've gotten results for their company. From an online perspective, Mark, do you want to kind of elaborate on how you, because Mark doesn't do any networking, he does everything online and he's built successful businesses. So can you just in a nutshell kind of go over what you do?
Sure. My main two avenues are LinkedIn. I have a whole LinkedIn automation platform that I use, and it's like $15 a month. I go over the whole setup and our course and everything. It's really cool. And that allows me and everyone on my team to actually hyper target people in certain industries we want to work in. So right now we're focusing on blue collar, you know, builders, general contractors, roofers, etc. We can go on LinkedIn, set up this whole cool automation, connect with all these people, message these people literally while we sleep, and we close a good deal of business from that. The other main source I use is Facebook groups. So since we're looking to target contractors, between me and my team, we split up the whole country. We all joined a number of groups. I think in total, between the four of us, there's like 75 groups we're in that are all for contractors. And we do a blog each week, and we just post that blog in the groups every week, just offering free, helpful value. People go to our site, and every week we have a good number of leads that actually convert from our site. So in total, all my prospecting lead generation each week probably takes me like 30 minutes. And we get, you know, multiple leads daily on average, and we close a decent percent of those. So while I sleep, I can just be growing the business, which is really cool.
Nice.
So to kind of answer and sum up, Nacho, you can go either way, or you can run them both at the same time, right? Whatever works well for you. But we go over that in depth in teaching our students and the people that we collaborate with how to make that happen, because there's really not an excuse for not having people after, if you've been in business for a while, having people come to you. And we teach how to make that happen through both strategies. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I definitely did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Next.
Cool. The next question, this is actually a really good question. This is from Patrick. You can go ahead and ask that, Patrick.
Hey, I was wondering if these are really helpful questions. Obviously, I'm assuming you've repeated this whole pitch or your presentation. That's the word I was looking for, to everyone. But I know that we're not the only Zoom call, and these questions are super great. I was wondering if you could maybe compile either a FAQ and, you know, frequently asked questions in text form, or you know, an edit together these Zoom calls. That'd be super great. I think super helpful for everyone involved in these calls. The other question I was gonna mention was, could we have a link to that presentation that you were showing, or is that super exclusive?
No. So what we're going to do is, after I've had a chance to answer all these questions and do all these Zoom calls, what I don't want to do is have those going out and then people not joining the Zooms where they'll be able to answer questions. So after we do all the Zoom calls, I'll give you the links to that kind of stuff. I think we're probably going to compile like a frequently asked questions kind of thing, and give an overview of that. But yeah, we can work on that for you, Patrick. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool. The next question was from Angela. Go ahead, Angela.
Yeah, so basically, I guess from what I understand, so you're kind of taking an approach, is it more of like an equal portion of the digital marketing, like you're offering digital marketing services to them as well as producing the content, so you're like a one-stop shop? Or you're just kind of focusing mainly on the video business, but hey, if you're also looking to, you know, expand your marketing plan, we can do that for you. Like, are you kind of going in with both mindsets, or you're just touching up on one mostly with like the other one kind of, you know, as a back burner in case they are interested?
So the way that I approach it is I am telling them or advising them what they are going to need to do in order to have the best chance for success. So they understand up front that once I lay out that plan, I make it very clear that the distribution is equally as important, and they have the option to either pass that to their marketing department, try to run it themselves, or if they want to have somebody implement that for them, then we bring in Mark to and his team to do that. So I kind of just approach it from, if you really want the results, this is what's going to give you the best chance to be successful in what you're trying to accomplish. If they want Mark to implement it, that's something that they have to pay Mark to do. Mark's fee is not included in what I do, right? So if I was a video production and ad agency, they would pay for the video production and they would pay for the ad distribution and all that stuff separately. That would be two different parts of it. What I'm doing is letting them know there are two different parts. If you have one and if you don't have the other, you're not going to be successful. So if you decide to go down this road, I can create the videos for you, and you need to decide whether you're going to do that on your own or you want me to bring in somebody that I trust to do it for you. And they have that clear understanding that they need both before we move forward. Because I simply don't want them, I don't want to create videos and them not get the results out of it. That's a waste of money for them. It's a waste of time for me because I can't go back to them and say, hey, can you refer me to somebody else? Like we discuss that, and they know that they have to distribute it, and we kind of discuss how they're going to do that before we start filming.
Okay, perfect. And I guess my second question was back to the kind of onboarding. I guess you primarily explained when we got to the questionnaire part. You pretty much kind of explained it, but when you do kind of go through the onboarding, is that something that's found in your course? Like the questions that you go through, the application that they fill out with you, that's all kind of found in there, like as a resource?
So right now it's not, but we have plans to add that to the course. So at this point in our pilot phase, we've got the content that we want to start building off of those foundational pieces, and getting our students to understand. And then we will start adding modules that will cover like how to properly onboard and pre-qualify so that you're not wasting your time with clients that are just asking them a bunch of questions and waste your time. We want clients that are going to actually close and move forward with you. What kind of questions to ask. We're going to talk about different philosophies on how to price your products, because there's a few different ways to price. And there's a few different schools of thought, and neither of them is 100% wrong or 100% right. It's more like what works for you. So we're going to teach a few different schools of thought on that. We're going to add modules to what we have, but the onboarding process and that planning process is something that we'll have a module on. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. So the next question was from Alyssa.
I think you guys kind of covered that already. What did I ask here? Oh, initiating the conversation. So you pretty much said it, that you network. Are you sponsoring any social media ads right now to get people to contact you?
No. So I have in the past, and we got success out of that in the past. At this point, with kind of where we're backing up to my time being almost maxed out, it's basically people coming to me. And at this point, I don't have to pay for any of that stuff. My network is providing more than enough work for me and my team.
But in the beginning, so like someone like me who doesn't have that reputation just yet, you did do Facebook ads to get the word out a little bit?
I did some. I
Okay.
focused the majority of my network or my efforts in networking, and that was successful for me. I did some, and I had some success from advertising. If that's something that you want to do, it's 100% possible, right? I'm not going to say that it's not, because it absolutely is. And it's a very effective way to get your message out there. Again, remember, we are in the business of moving information, and it's not just for our clients, but it's also for you and your business. So creating effective online strategy and ad platforms to move your message to generate leads is 100% advisable. And I would encourage anybody who wants to go down that road to do that and understand the distribution in their audience and what they're trying to logistically push that information, because it is 100% possible.
Very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it looks like we had another question from Levi. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, thanks. And this might be more of a question targeted towards you, Mark, but basically I was curious. I didn't realize that you were billing these out separately as far as the production and planning, as well as the marketing aspect of it. But I was curious what like a typical rate for a digital marketeer is, and kind of how you guys price that sort of stuff out. Just so once I start trying to implement this and I'm checking with other companies, like how do I know that they're going to do a good job and that I'm getting a fair price?
Sure. You'll find that agencies have a huge spectrum on what they charge. Some are much more fair than others. That being said, there's no set cost because it's all going to depend on how many platforms are they using, how many campaigns do they need, what's their ad spend. We charge more, if someone's spending 15 grand a month than we do if someone's spending 1,500. It's a lot more to manage. Typically, clients will pay between 3 to like 5 to 6K a month. A big client like this, again, it's about value. So it's like David said, they can pay him 150K because he's making them so much more than that. If our ad campaigns are bringing in, 5 sales a month, right? Then they pay 5 grand a month. They've got a huge ROI on that. So it's really going to be about figuring out the time that it's going to take, how many retargeting ads you need to do, how often you're going to be changing up the ads, what's their ad spend, and then figuring out, okay, what's a fair value. I don't like to overcharge. I used to work for an agency and they overcharged like crazy and it drove me nuts because they were just being greedy. But I would say a good digital marketing agency that's going to give you a good return on the investment for the client is probably going to charge something like a home builder, probably like 3 to 5K. And that's going to be, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, kind of all the major platforms.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense.
And Levi, that's probably something that we're going to add to the course as well, on how to, if you want to implement that and add that as a service offering in your own business, we'll have Mark build out some lessons on how to appropriately price from a few different aspects on, that kind of stuff. So yeah, great question.
One other thing to keep in mind, that's our fee. That's not with their ad spend. So that's what they pay us to manage everything. They also have to cover the actual spend on the ads.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. And I guess kind of tying in with that, David, you said you're creating 3 to 4 videos per month for this client. And when you're doing that, is that obviously you're building out that campaign that you're creating for them? And are those videos, so you have like 11 or 12 videos in that process? So the new videos that you're creating, are those just updating the campaign and trying to basically create new content to retarget, or what are you creating those videos for?
There's a few different things. So both customer facing and internal videos. So obviously, the walkthrough video is going to be important. I think that's just kind of a given. One of the things that I talked about, and I'll pull it back up. Where did it go? Was building their brand, branding and quality control from the consumer voice. So we're using testimonials a lot for this. So they're very, very heavily focused on filming a lot of testimonials for a few reasons. They've done a lot of work on their brand and making sure that anybody in Texas that is going to build a home on like their own private land, they are going to know about Tilson Homes. And Don, the director of marketing, talks about this in the interview, which you can watch. But they've done a lot of work on their brand and they want a lot of quality control. So if somebody in Dallas is going to build a home, they are going to get the same exact experience as somebody in Corpus Christi that wants to build a home. And what we've done is we've leveraged testimonials, basically asking a whole bunch of different satisfied clients the same exact questions, the same list of questions. And what we're getting is very similar responses. So when we start to distribute all these videos to prospective clients and they hear the same things over and over and over, it builds a lot of trust in not only the brand, but the quality control across their entire platform. So we're building out testimonials for like understanding the finance. If they've got a lead that's already generated and they're kind of on the hook, they're thinking about building, the financing option that this builder has is completely different than the other financing options that their competitors have. So we're building out videos that we can distribute to those people to give them a leg up on the financing and an understanding of the financing. But we've also done videos for their training department. We do videos for their current clients that are going through the build process. So there's a lot of different video types that we're actually creating across the board. Hopefully that answers a little bit of your question, Levi. It's not simply, if all you do is go in and have the idea for one video, they're not going to sign a retainer contract because there's not enough work for you to do. Like, you need to have multiple video ideas and distribution strategies for them to say, okay, yes, we want, in this case, 55 to 60 videos over the course of 15 months. And we know how we're going to use all of them. So you got to come to the table with ideas for 55 to 60 different types of videos. A lot of them are the same. So we're doing like 15 testimonials, and they have quite a few video walkthroughs. But then what are the other types of videos that we're going to be able to place in the strategy that are going to help you out?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Well, we've got 2 final questions. First one's from Reggie.
Yeah, so one of my questions was I'm trying to be like a one-stop shop. I'm trying to. I've been really using this time. I guess this question is both for you, Mark, and David. But I've been working with one of the, I think he's the biggest artist in Hawaii. He's Glenn from the group Maoli. I'm trying to be a one-stop shop. I'm trying to promote his content. One thing about the music industry is he always has content for me to shoot, right? Promoting new songs, new singles, new albums, tours, and stuff like that. But I guess at what point in your business, David, did you start outsourcing for editing, for ad management and stuff like that?
So it came on pretty quick, guys, because like I said, I mean, I was able to launch from zero and get up to about $200,000 in business within the first 15 months of opening. So once we started bringing on some bigger clients and I knew that my time was going to be kind of maxed out, I planned ahead for that. So as I started seeing these bigger companies come in, I started researching the people that I wanted to work with and making those connections. And I started bringing them on before I got a bottleneck in my strategy and my workflow. So it wasn't like, oh crap, I've got like 20 videos that I need to edit and I'm hosed, because I'm like, no, that never happened for me. For one, because we started that retainer-based situation where people were spreading that over a long time. And 2, I had, enough forward thinking to say, okay, I'm going to need an editor. I'm probably going to need a second shooter. And I started looking at that as I started to see more interest in bigger projects. So yeah, if you find yourself kind of looking into the future saying, okay, my time is going to come very packed, that's a good thing. Start planning on how to do that. Because once you start creating a system, you go from being self-employed. Self-employed is basically owning a job, right? You still have a job and you are an employee of your job. Being a business owner starts to go from being an employee of your job to owning more of a system where you have multiple parts working and you're quarterbacking the whole thing. That's when the system starts working and you own more of a company and you're more of a business. So that transition from self-employed, solo shooter, solo person, one-man band to now I've got people working all aspects is something that you gradually grow into. And once you do that, dude, that's where the big time success is. So that's a very, very good question. So it's all dependent on what you got coming in and where your future is looking.
Got it. I understand. Yeah, it's just that I see the numbers increasing. Like I really like seeing the numbers and the growth and stuff like that. Like we've recently gotten like over 120,000 subscribers in the last 28 days on like Spotify and stuff like that, So it's like, but I'm just starting to feel a little bit pressured as far as like how quickly I can get out these quality videos. I just don't want to lose my time behind the camera, because that's where I feel more focused, kind of like you. That's where I want to be. So yeah, that's good information.
Don't be afraid to outsource, right? The folks that want to, I hate to say this, but it may be kind of a greed thing where you're like, okay, well, I booked this project and I want all of the money, right? I want all that coming in my pocket. You're kind of hurting yourself on the back end because you're limiting your growth. So don't be afraid to be like, okay, I'm going to use this success to build off of. I'm going to take some of that profit and I'm going to reinvest into my company by bringing on somebody that's going to be able to help me grow. Because there's a ceiling of how much time you have. Once you reach that ceiling, you will never go above that unless you have people that are working within a system to help you out. So don't limit yourself. Like, don't think I have to keep all this money in my pocket. Be forward thinking and understanding that building a team is super beneficial.
Yeah, it wasn't more towards like trying to have a complete one-man band and limiting the hands on the pie. It was more like I invested in these other educational platforms like Indepreneur, you know, specifically for people who are trying to promote their music and stuff like that. And for me to figure out, you know, how to retarget audiences, how to like create ads and stuff like that. So I just felt that I just wanted to have a better understanding was when I find the bigger fish so that I can figure out how to incorporate all of those moving parts like how you had on your layout there. So awesome. Thanks,
Awesome, man. Well, hopefully this was value, guys. I see
huge, yeah.
people
Thank you.
dropping off. So if you guys got to drop off, by all means. But was this valuable? Did this help you guys out? I mean, regardless if you guys hop into our course or not, was this something that you guys can build off of and take? Okay. We're probably going to send out a little survey to everybody and just kind of see what the most valuable parts were. You know, that way, if other people ask questions, we can expand upon that. But yeah, if you got to get going, you can. I'm going to stay on until there's no more questions left. So if you still have questions that you want to ask, by all means.
Yeah, I know Jordan had one. You can go ahead and ask that, Jordan.
Thanks, Mark. So what it sounds like, David, is basically the value that you provide to clients is knowledge of kind of this whole logistic process and from start to finish. So it's your consulting value, video production value, and then beyond that, mainly the strength of your network, the people that you know, the connections you have and relationships and whatnot. So I guess I kind of feel like you mentioned before that the video part is maybe the fun part for you and some of the other things aren't as interesting. And that resonated with me because I feel like I love the video production process and insofar as it's necessary, I enjoy the business aspects as well. So I guess one thing I'm wondering is, does the course contain enough training, information, whatnot on the ad management piece and the distribution that I could successfully do it myself to a degree, right? Not for maybe major clients, but more regional ones or something like that. Or does it really just kind of provide that overview that's needed to be able to speak from more of a consulting standpoint, if that makes sense?
Sure. So the course, and I'll pull it back up so you guys can see it. Let me make sure. My dog's about to start crying here, guys. So bear with my dog. So, and I'll actually pull it up from the student view. So the course does go over in depth. Mark does a really, really good job at teaching step-by-step tutorials for all the different platforms. What we're also going to be able to do, since Mark has a team, is that we're going to be able to make updates to all of these modules. The reality is that Facebook is constantly updating their algorithm. In fact, it happened the other day, right after we published our course, they came up with a new update and Mark had to go and he caught it, him and his team caught it. So they updated all the information on Facebook that needed to be updated within that module and those lessons. So yes, he gives step-by-step instructions on how to run these platforms. That way if you want to use that as a service offering, if you want to be a video and marketing agency, you can learn the information and you can apply it to not only your business, but your clients' businesses as well. And we cover a lot of different platforms. So we go really in depth into Facebook. Within Facebook is Instagram, because obviously Facebook owns Instagram. We go into a lot of depth into Google on how to use that, because Google is where a lot of the analytics are captured. And then we go into some other stuff, like how can we utilize YouTube, Snapchat, even setting up like automation stuff like chat bots so that you can constantly communicate with your clientele. Even when you're on vacation, sitting down, having dinner in the middle of the night while you're sleeping, going over chat bots. Email marketing, Mark goes into super depth in how to use MailChimp, not only for your own self, but for your clients. And we even do stuff like auditing websites, auditing current or potential clients' social media pages, making sure that they have their stuff set up, or we can go and look at it and we can make recommendations on what needs to be updated. So he goes over all of this stuff in depth, and it will always be updated because him and his teams are going to be able to catch that. Now, if you want to do like I do and simply just learn it, that way you can talk about it, but you don't necessarily want to implement it. Like I said, our students will have access to Mark and his teams, so you can collaborate with him very much the same way that I do. Once our community gets so big that Mark and his team can't, well, he'll probably hire to the point where he'll be able to do that. But if we get to a point where it's too big, then we will vet a few other marketing agencies across the country and bring them on board. That way our students always have somebody that they can trust to go talk to about ideas or even collaborate with if they don't want to do the entire marketing piece. But yes, Mark does a very, very good job at step-by-step tutorials and keeping those updated.
Cool.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you guys for all the value you provided. That's awesome.
Awesome. Glad you got something out of it. Any more, Mark?
Patrick was asking, where can we find more information about you, your company's website? We can send out all the links in the follow-up email.
Yeah, we can send that stuff up. I'll be honest with you, man. Your work is probably, from a video aspect, better than mine is. I started, it's just that 60D and kind of worked my way up. So by no means am I like Peter McKinnon or anything. It's just that my knowledge of the business and kind of implementation phase has allowed me to be pretty successful and kind of go from there. But yeah, I'll send you out my link so you guys can check out some of my work.
That's super helpful. I struggle in that area. I'm more the creative nature. So I'm trying to make as many connections and learn from as many people about the business side of things as possible.
And I think that's natural sorry, go ahead.
Right now I'm rocking a T3i. I had a car fire a couple months back, then I lost most of my film equipment that I'd acquired. So I'm also rebuilding stuff. So I'm trying to get these larger clients that I can, build up some equipment and really do a better job from the tech aspect and the tools aspect. But yeah.
Well, hopefully this is a little bit of encouragement to you to know that it's possible, even in the start out phase, to really get bigger clients, because you're going to be able to get them results. Even if you're not, Peter McKinnon or some of the other big guys who are crazy awesome. Even if you can't produce a technical video at that high level, you don't necessarily need a super, super fancy video in order to get that business a lot of results. And
right.
that's what I'm able to leverage in my business, is that I'm not those dudes, but I can really get you results. And that's what brings the business in for me anyways.
Yeah. To a large extent, it's not about the quality of the video. It's about getting that content out.
It's both. I mean, the technical piece, like, you absolutely have to produce the very best video that you can. And that's always something that we should be mastering our craft at. So, investing in equipment, investing in your skills on that end, constantly battling to make yourself better is something that I'm always doing. But yes, it's both. You can have an average looking video, just as long as it's, pretty technically good, that can still produce very, very large results. So, but yeah, you're right.
Well, it looks like we got one more. Ignacio is asking, do prospects ask for portfolio or results of the video strategy?
Honestly, so most of my clients at this point don't really ask to see my portfolio. I've got what I guess some people would call a demo reel, but I call it my brand message video. A demo reel with just music and footage for me doesn't do a lot, because all it displays is that I'm tactical. I'm very technically able. If the message is not getting across that I'm more than just that cameraman, if there's not like a voiceover or an on camera of me saying what I'm able to do for them, it loses what separates me. So my video reel, or brand message video is what I call it, is what really delivers that message. I actually need to update that because it's pretty old, but for the most part, most of my clients don't ask to see a lot of my like portfolio from a technical aspect. They will sometimes ask to see like other plans that I put together for other companies. But most of the time when I lay out the plan for them, they're kind of like, holy smokes, this guy is talking on a different level. He obviously is somebody that is an expert in this area, subject matter expert, and knows what he's talking about. And then we kind of go off of that. So very rarely do they ask for my portfolio. Occasionally they'll ask me to see like what I've done for other companies from the distribution standpoint.
Cool. Looks like that's all the questions.
Okay, awesome, guys. Yes, I'll follow up. I'll send out that link. If you guys are interested in joining our course, the Real Deal Video Strategist Club, we only have a few spots left for our pilot. After that, the price is going to go up pretty significantly. So if it's something you want to invest in, you can hop in. If you have questions about it, let me know before we close out the pilot period. I will send out the link so that you guys can watch the free video and the interview. That interview will be available until Friday. After Friday, that's going to be for the eyes of our students only. So make sure you go watch that video and interview before it's taken down. And feel free to watch some of the other free content. And again, hopefully, guys, this is of tremendous value. You know, I wanted to make sure that this was packed with information that you guys can build off of, regardless if you join our course or not. So with that said, thanks so much, everybody, for connecting. And if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. All right, guys. We'll see everybody later.
Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.